Hello, and welcome back to another live session with me. I am excited to be back again with a new session. This is October, so welcome again. And please let's know where you're joining us from. Just put in the chat where you're joining us from. Welcome, everyone. So pleased to see you. I'll just make sure we are live on LinkedIn as well. Let's see what's going on. So please join and let me know where you're joining us from, just to make sure that, oh, perfect. I can see us on LinkedIn. So this is October. Give me, sorry. Okay, that's it. So yes, if you're joining us from LinkedIn, I've got you covered, because sometimes I don't see the comments coming in here, but I can, if I'm looking down, I'm just looking to make sure I don't miss your comments. So I'm excited to be back again this October. Can't believe we're in October already, but please let's know where you're joining from. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. Subscribe, like, and share. And if you're watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or anywhere else, or YouTube, invite someone to join us. This topic today is one that everyone will benefit from. So please invite someone to join. Send the link to people so that they can also join. And remember that it's really great to be interactive. The more interactive you are with me, the more we can go deep, the more I can address your questions or issues as well. So please be very interactive. Ask questions, comment. If anything really stands out to you while we start, put it in the chat, because that thing that resonated with you could actually resonate with somebody else. They might even have heard it in a different way, but when you put it down, then it can really jump out at them. It's really fascinating the way our brain works, isn't it? So yes, please, let's know where you're joining us from. That would be amazing. So I'm going to just look on the chat to see if there's anything coming through, and I'm going to start. So yes, I've not seen anyone put anything in the chat. Please let's know where you're joining us from. That would really be amazing. So our topic today is turn your biggest mistakes into your boldest success. And this is so vital and important, especially as we've come into October, really getting into the last quarter of the year. So, it's so important to really think about it, because maybe through the year, you've made mistakes, or things that you've termed to be mistakes, and it's maybe crippled you or even prevented you from moving forward, or prevented you from doing what you wanted. Or maybe you had plans at the beginning of the year which haven't materialized, and you're feeling down, you're feeling that, oh, the year has gone and you've not achieved anything. Pay attention to this session. You really benefit from it. And I pray that at the end, you really be equipped to go and take some definite actions that will help you achieve your goals. So thank you. Oh, Ginny, thank you for joining all the way from Leeds. So good to have you here, my darling cousin. So good to have you. Anonyekwere, oh my God, great to see you from Asaba. Oh my God, I'm so pleased you're here. Thank you for joining. So please keep putting in the chat where you're joining us from, and let's get started in today's session. I always like starting with a story that relates to me or something else. And I think with this particular topic, talking about mistakes, I'll never forget the day that I stood in front of a room full of leaders, executives who had the power to open doors for me. I had prepared for weeks to do my presentation and interview. And I just felt at that time, this is the moment to shine. That kind of opportunity that could change so much in your career. So I went in so prepared. But halfway through my presentation, my brain froze. Words slipped away. I stumbled. And I even when they asked questions later, I couldn't even remember the answers to the questions that they were asking. And in that moment, I felt I had ruined everything. I walked out of that room crying with shame. Before I even got to the lift to take me down, all the answers to the questions they asked me flooded back in my brain. I have explained what happens here in a previous session, where at that time, because I was so heightened, because I was so nervous and anxious, because I really wanted it so much, and I had created a narrative that I've got to really do well, and really created pressure for myself. When I got into that interview, my brain, the emotional part of my brain was activated. You know, that part we call the amygdala, that part of the brain that really creates that flight, or freeze. I've got my brain, got a friend here. So in the middle of the brain, right at the bottom, right in there, you've got the limbic brain, which is where the amygdala sits, which is that emotional part of the brain. I call the scanner that scans the brain to see, what is coming in. Is it a threat or is it a reward? And in this case, my brain had interpreted it, or I had interpreted it as a threat. So it got activated, and when the amygdala is activated, it shuts down our prefrontal cortex. That's the thinking brain, and that was why I could not remember anything at that time. So I left there feeling so much shame. For months, I replayed it in my mind, thinking that was it. I've missed my chance. I blew it. I'm just so embarrassed. I just started creating all these narratives around that situation. Here's the truth, though. That mistake did not end my story. It became part of my growth, because mistakes, when processed, are not prisons, they are preparation. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to show you how your mistakes, whether in leadership, relationships, or life, can become the fuel for your own boldest success. For me, the mistake I made was it's almost like putting everything into it, that, oh, this had to work. This is the all and all. I have to really make an impression here. And just created a narrative of this is it or nothing. And so the amygdala was activated. And when it got activated, I did not have the skills to calm myself down. I did not have the skills to put a break on my emotional brain at that point, so that I could reactivate my prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain. I did not have the skills at that time, but that situation actually helped me in some ways, because from there I got into setting up the business eventually, which led me to what I'm doing now, really getting to understand neuroscience, understanding how the brain works and its impact on behavior. So even though I didn't get that job, even though that was, a huge shame for me at the time, I was able to change that narrative and create a new opportunity that's led me to where I am. But most importantly, I must always give the glory to God, because if God really hadn't opened my eyes to see how neuroscience connects with scripture, I would not be where I am today doing what I do. So today's session is a really important one that will completely change the way you look at past failures, past mistakes. So, oh, hello, Pandy. I can see you here on LinkedIn. Great to have you here. Thank you so much. Oh, my darling friend, sister Patricia from Atlanta. I'm calling that properly. I have just come back from visiting Lola in Atlanta, and I had such a fantastic time. And I'm just going to say to you here, my darling sister, thank you for giving me a fabulous time in Atlanta. You're a real star and you're a real sister. I truly appreciate you. So let's get in. How are mistakes viewed? And I'm going to start with that. I want you to kind of think about this as we go along, because most people treat mistakes as proof that they're not good enough. Some people treat it as a reason to retreat into their comfort zone. Some people also treat mistakes as excuses to stagnate instead of stretch, where you find them start giving reasons why they shouldn't do things. And this is where things like procrastination come in, or even self-sabotage, where the brain is trying to keep you in comfort zone, or prevent you from experiencing what you experienced before. So the example I gave, where I went for an interview and totally messed up, if you're not careful and really change the narrative, what would happen is next time you're going for an interview, it will be worse, because that the brain will go, what if it happens again? What if you forget again? What if they don't like me? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I disgrace myself? All those narratives start coming up. And this could even be for a business person who is, wants to get clients. What if they reject me because one person has rejected you before? I would really rephrase that actually. I say, because one person has said no to you before, then you take your narrative is, I've been rejected. What if I get rejected again? So all those narratives. And in leadership, this can be quite deadly, because when leaders are afraid of mistakes, what they end up doing is that they stop innovating. So when you find yourself really afraid of making mistakes or holding back from making mistakes, innovation stops. And then you find that your team starts shrinking back. And that's where organizations start plateauing. From a neuroscience perspective, we know that mistakes actually activate the brain's error detection system. So if you dwell on them, if you dwell on mistakes, what you end up doing is that you're strengthening the pathways of shame. So that narrative that you've created in the brain around shame will keep strengthening, because you keep focusing on them. You keep enabling them to fire together. And the more they are firing together, they're connecting, wiring together, and really strengthening the shame network. And that's why anything you then try to do, it comes back to that wiring, because you've really strengthened it. And that's where you start feeling, oh, I don't want to be in shame. I don't want to do this. So that I don't get embarrassed, or people look at me as if I don't know, or I'm actually not ready, or I'm not good enough. That's the wiring that you've created. And the brain would help you by creating more narratives around it. But when you reframe the narrative of mistakes, what you end up doing rather is that you are now activating pathways of learning, of resilience, of courage, and of adaptability. And this is true in every part of our life, maybe in your career, marriage, friendships, or even your walk with God. And Isaiah 43:18 says it nicely. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. God isn't saying deny it. What he's actually saying is don't camp there. Don't stay in those mistakes. Don't stay in the past. Learn from the past. Learn from the mistakes. Learn, reframe, and move forward. That's the key. Learn, reframe, and move forward. Oh, Ifeoma, great to have you here from all the way from London. So good to have you here. So yes, please, what is standing out for you? Is there anything that I've said that you can resonate with? Let me remove this. Yeah. Is there anything that I've said that you can resonate with? Just pop it in the chat, or write one word that describes how you usually feel when you make a mistake. Is it ashamed, anxious, angry, stuck? What one word stands out for you? Or what one word can you use to describe how you feel when you make a mistake? If you put that in the chat quickly, let's have a look. Let's see what's coming in. Okay, yeah, pop it in the chat. I'll continue and keep my eyes on the chat. So now I want us to look at how mistakes can become success. And this is now looking at the science of transformation. We often see mistakes as waste, something to hide, something to bury, or even regret. But both science and microbiology, and I'm so excited about this because my background, original background, is actually medical microbiology. So when I was thinking of this topic, there's examples about using microbiology came back to me. And I always say I just love microbiology, and being in Atlanta was so good because my friend's husband is a microbiologist. So it was so nice just connecting back with my first love, which is medical microbiology, about medical sciences. So both neuroscience and microbiology teach us that nothing truly goes to waste when the right process is applied. Transformation happens when we allow time, when we allow pressure, listen to this, and when we allow reflection to do their work. Time, pressure, reflection. So now let's look at some examples. Milk is fragile. And when it's left neglected, what happens? It spoils. But when it's intentionally processed, the same milk goes through fermentation, first becoming yogurt, that which is a thicker, stronger version of itself, of milk. And with further refining, it becomes cheese, which is even richer, more valuable, and longer lasting. You see, so mistakes in your life, whether career, whether relationship, work the same way. When left unattended, what happens? They sour into regret. But when you reflect, forgive yourself, and learn, they become resilience, empathy, and wisdom. These are qualities that create depth in who you are and how you lead. So transformation requires process. Can we see that? Just like milk undergoes transformation over time and under the right conditions, we transform through reflection, through prayer, and the embrace of God's grace, which is the divine process that turns failure into growth and maturity. So let's look at another example. Grapes. Grapes are sweet and pleasant, but it's the crushing, the pressing, and fermentation that release their depth and strength. So that the wine that emerges is more valuable than the grape ever was. So maybe this season you felt like you're being crushed, maybe through a breakup, a disappointment, maybe a business failure, or even a closed door. But the crushing, remember, is not the end. It's refinement. And this is what I really want you to focus on today. Your faith, character, and purpose deepen under pressure. And John 15:2 from the NIV version says this: He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. Just, sit with that for a second. And in Mindsight Women's Network, which is really what led to me doing this live, monthly live, is, in it, we call this the fermentation phase, where God matures what he planted in us. And I'll tell you briefly about Mindsight Women's Network. So this is a network where women come together, and I teach them how to really integrate neuroscience, emotional intelligence, and scripture, so that you can use it to excel in every area of your work. But most importantly, to enable you draw closer to God and understand who you are and whose you are, enabling you to understand your identity, because from there, everything else falls into place, especially what we're talking about today, relating to mistakes. Because most times when you make mistakes, what you hear people say is, I am not good enough. Identity. I failed. So I'm not good enough. I can't do it. Identity. And this is, so what we teach in Mindsight Women's Network is for you to truly understand who you are, so that when things happen, it becomes easier to reframe and enable you achieve what you want. Because once you embrace those narratives, just like I've shown, it can really prevent you from seeing opportunities. Opportunities could be right in front of you and you won't even see them. It will create stagnation, or even keep you stuck. So I will leave there's a link in the description on Facebook, to the Mindsight Women's Network, if you want to know more, or just reach out to me, whichever platform you're on. Reach out to me and I'll tell you more about it. But it's a fantastic network where there's training, there's group coaching, there's one-to-one coaching, there are lots of master classes, webinars. There's just so much that we do in the network, and it's truly transforming every woman's life in it. Because bringing these three elements together is just, you can't hold the transformation back. You really can't. So I'm going to use another example now. So I'm just looking in the chat. So some narratives are ashamed and angry or dwelling. Interesting. Yeah. So it's really good to understand how you give things names, or narratives that you create, or how you feel. So because the first part of emotional intelligence is recognition, awareness, just understanding. When you recognize the emotion or recognize a thought pattern, that is awareness. Then you can then change it. So let's look at another example, and this example is truly microbiology. In 1928, Alexander Fleming noticed mold growing on his bacterial culture plates, which is a big mistake in any lab. When you have mold growing on bacterial plates, that's contamination. But instead of discarding it, which is what we tend to do, once mold is growing, you just chuck it away because it's contaminated and you can't really use it. It's destroyed what the actual result you want to get. But instead of discarding it, he decided to study the mold. And what appeared to be contamination turned out to be a discovery. That mistake became penicillin. And it's a mistake because there's obviously some form of way, something that he didn't do effectively that created that contamination. So it wasn't in a sterile condition. So that mistake became penicillin, which is a breakthrough that has saved millions and millions of lives. So what if your contamination moments, the things that have embarrassed you, the failures that felt humiliating, are the very conditions where your next breakthrough will emerge? And I can truly identify with this. For those that don't know me, I opened a business. So after leaving microbiology and lecturing, I opened a hair and beauty salon. And after 4 years, I had to close it down. and I lost so much money. I lost so much resources, and I lost myself in the process as well. And at that point, I felt like a failure. When I started, the business was it's the first in the area where I live in the UK, in Kent, to cater for Afro hair. So it catered for Afro hair and Caucasian hair, but the first to really cater for Afro hair. And so it was a big opening, covered by BBC, ITV, it was on the news. It was fantastic. So to close down 4 years later and lose so much money, I really felt shame, humiliation. And I did go into hiding. But it was in that place of shame and deep, very low. In fact, I probably say some verge of some form of depression. It was in that depth that I really prayed and said, Lord, you need to help me here. And that was when I discovered neuroscience. Having taught neuroanatomy previously at university, but that was purely educational for me. It was purely academic, rather. But what I was now studying was seeing how our thought processes impact on our behavior, impacts on our actions, impacts on how we feel, on our emotions. But most importantly, I was now seeing how this new science, neuroplasticity, the concept of the fact that the brain can keep rewiring itself all our life. Because when I was teaching it, up till, when I was in university, up to when I was lecturing, the understanding was that the way the brain is at about the age of 25 is the way it will remain for the rest, the way it remains for the rest of our lives, that the brain couldn't change and we couldn't grow new brain cells. But now I was studying this neuroplasticity and seeing that actually now science is showing with the new discovery that no, our brain can keep wiring. So new connections can keep forming all our lives. That meant that things that we thought we couldn't do because we had become adults was not true. We could actually change our behavior, change our narrative, change situations all our lives. That was mind-blowing. But the interesting thing, it then really confirmed scripture for me. Then I understood scriptures like renew your mind, where it was, that means we had the power. We are the ones that are meant to do the renewing, not praying, oh Lord, change my mind, renew my mind. We have the ability, because that is the way God has created us to renew our mind. And so for me, this concept of when you make mistakes, those contamination moments, those times that I felt embarrassed, felt like a failure, felt humiliated, I could do something about it. I could change the narrative. And those things that I looked at as failures can actually become opportunities for me, opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow, opportunities to be strengthened, to be resilient. So in leadership and business, curiosity and reflection transform error into innovation. And that's the mindset shift. That's the renewing. That's the rewiring. Sometimes the things that look like contamination, possibly things like broken trust, poor decisions, career detours, are the very soil where your breakthrough is hidden. But if you stay stuck on what you see, the broken trust, the poor decisions, the career detours, then you stay stuck. In relationships, reflection and forgiveness turn hurt into compassion. And in business, curiosity and learning turn failure as well into innovation. Let me just have a quick look on LinkedIn to make sure I'm not missing anything, because sometimes it doesn't pull through. Okay. So yes, please, if anything stands out for you, please put it in the chat. Oh, I see Um, my darling Eva, she says awesome. Louise, thank you for being here. She says brilliant. If you've got questions, please pop them into the chat. Or if anything stands out for you, just post it as well into the chat. So good to have you all here. So, Fleming, Alexander Fleming didn't find penicillin by avoiding mistakes. He found it by studying them. So when mistakes happen, don't avoid it. Don't avoid doing something similar because you make the same mistake. No, study the mistake. Why did I make this mistake? What went wrong? What did I do that I can change? Ask yourself the questions, examine it. Because he found it by studying the mistake, by studying the mold. The same applies to us. Breakthroughs often grow where embarrassment once lived, but we have to reframe that embarrassment to be able to achieve the breakthrough. And Romans 8:28 is a good one. And the NIV says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. All things. We know that in all things work for the good. So that means that there's a possibility that something that has gone wrong, in fact, the ability for anything that goes wrong to be turned around, to work for our good. That's a promise from God. So, but we have to do the reframing. We have to renew our mind. We have to change the narrative to enable that thing to become good. The brain learns through error correction. So every time you reframe a mistake, what you're doing is building new neural pathways. And that is where failure becomes your fuel. Failure becomes your fuel by renewing these neural pathways. And in leadership, let me put this on. And in leadership, great leaders don't hide from their mistakes. What do? They harvest them. They use them. So as a leader, don't hide from mistakes. What will my team think? What will people think? They won't respect me. They won't think I'm a good leader. No. Own them. Harvest them. Learn from them. Use them to learn and grow. So let's look at some, kind of just summarize what we've just looked at. So as you think about your own journey, which transformation do you relate to most? Maybe, which of the transformation that I've described do you relate to most? Is it milk becoming cheese, where you're growing through reflection? Is it grapes becoming wine, where you're able to grow through pressure? Or is it mold becoming penicillin, where you're able to grow through surprise or failure? So type in the chat which one resonates with you. And while you're doing that, I just want you to declare to yourself, the mistakes I have made are maturing me. The mistakes I have made are maturing me. So let's see which one of these resonates more with you. Milk becoming cheese, where you grow through reflection. Grapes becoming wine, where you grow through pressure. Or mold becoming penicillin, where you grow through surprise or even failure. Milk becoming cheese. I like that. So that's reflection. I like that. And even if it's something you're going to do, pop it into the chat. Which one resonates more with you that you are going to use moving forward now? Pop that into the chat as well. When mistakes are not reframed, they lead to fear and stagnation. And the results are leaders avoid hard decisions, entrepreneurs stay in survival mode, professionals cling to comfort zones. I'm not, no, fear of even seeking promotion, fear of taking on a new project, and for you, what is it? Fear leads to stagnation. You stop stretching, you stop risking, you stop believing. But when you allow mistakes to teach you, then your brain rewires for courage. And from a neuroscience perspective, we know that every time you replace a thought of regret with one of learning, you strengthen your prefrontal cortex. So that's the thinking brain, the frontal part of the brain. So that part of the brain that drives confidence, empathy, and wise decision making, intentional decision making. And I read that scripture, Romans 8:28, that reminds us that all things, even the things that we regret, can work together for good. So think of one mistake that has held you back. And you could write it on your own notepad if you want. What did this prepare you for? Or just ask yourself the question, what did this prepare me for? And if you're bold, you could share it in the chat, but you don't have to. But the important thing is that you identify that mistake that held you back and what did it actually prepare you for? So let's see what's coming through. So I'm going to pop this up so I see it. I'm a keen reflective learner. I love that. Challenge is that some people may feel you're seeking a scapegoat. Some people may feel you're seeking a scapegoat. Not sure what you mean, but one thing that is important is that what people think we have no control over. The important thing is to do what you need to do that doesn't hurt people, but ensure that it's helpful to you. You're doing the right thing. So it's important. So being a keen reflective learner is important as long as you're not ruminating, because ruminating can become, detrimental. So it's important to be reflective, learn from the reflection, and take actions as well. So let me see. When you dig into what went right or wrong. Okay, I see what you mean. So it's important to reflect, but I think in terms of what you've written, that some people may feel you're seeking a scapegoat. I suppose it's communication here, because reflecting is not it's important, but how it's narrated, I suppose, or the communication is where it becomes important. How you reflect and how it's communicated, because sometimes we can reflect and people might tell me to be that we're deflecting, so I think it's communication. But also something that is also important, which we can't discuss in this session, is communicating effectively. Most times as human beings we communicate the way we are, but we need to ensure that we communicate effectively with the people we are communicating with. So we communicate based on how the person or people we're talking to are wired, so that it lands effectively. That's so important, because a lot of times when we communicate, I might be saying something and I know what I mean, but the way it lands on their brain will be completely different. And that's why communicating and using questions and listening are so important. So I'm using questions to ask. Do you understand what I've said? Or even get them to repeat what you said, but also listening to what they've said. Have they understood what you said? What they're saying, is it what you actually meant? So this is where it becomes really important. But I like that, Ebu. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good one. So now we're going to go into what I call the next level club. You don't qualify because you've never failed. You qualify because you failed, you've learned, and you've chosen to rise. Become a member of the next level club. Because in the next level club, for leaders, your mistakes are opportunities to model resilience. And your mistakes build credibility when you own them. Entrepreneurs, your mistakes are your tuition fees for innovation. And for parents and partners, mistakes deepen empathy and connection. For dreamers, mistakes refine your character and direction. So please join me in the next level club. Just make a note of it, that you know what, I'm joining this next level club, so that you're able to take issues, mistakes, failures, and turn them into something that enables you grow. So, coming to the end of this, if you've got questions or comments, please remember to keep popping them in the chat. So as we step into October, now in the final quarter of 2025, don't drag regrets into 2026. Instead, process it into purpose. And I'm going to give you a four-step action plan to help you do this. The first one is review. I've called review. And in review, I want you to write down 2 mistakes that are still holding you back. Review. Write down 2 mistakes that are still holding you back. 2, reframe. Replace your old story with a new declaration. And I've given you quite a few today, but replace your old story with a new declaration. And then 3, rewire. Sorry, I'm going to do that again. Review, then reframe. Sorry. So review, then reframe. So review is write 2 mistakes that are still holding you back. Then reframe is ask the question, what did this teach me? Or what did this prepare me for? What did this teach me? Or what did this prepare me for? Then rewire, which is where you replace your old story with a new declaration. An example could be, this mistake built me for my next level. And then finally, rise. Take one bold action this October, something fear has been delaying, and just, use these 4 steps to enable you be very intentional this month, so that you snap out of what's been holding you back and actually take action, not just gain knowledge, but take action. So in closing, I'll remind you again to subscribe to this channel, share this video with anyone, because it's going to be on YouTube, so you can share it with anyone. And if you want to know more about Mindsight Women's Network, do reach out to me. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, reach out to me. My details are on in the description in YouTube, or reach out to me on Facebook. So your mistakes are not your prison. They are your preparation. Like milk into cheese, like grapes into wine, and like mold into penicillin, the very things that looked wasted, crushed, or even contaminated can become your greatest contribution. So finally, I'll end with Philippians 3:13-14 that says, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead, I press on towards the goal. I press on. That's action towards the goal. So press on. Don't waste your mistakes. Process them, learn from them, and let them propel you into your boldest success in life, in your relationships, and purpose. So, my question to you is, what is your October action step? Write it down, make a note of it, paste it somewhere so that each time you go past, you remember. And please, before we come back in November, I think it's November 1st, make sure you've taken one bold action. Whether whether you're doing it afraid, do it afraid, but do something. And for daily rewiring and reflection, I would ask you to if you haven't gotten my book, Rewire Your Brain with Neuroscience and Scripture every day. This is a daily guide. It's almost like your daily coach that will guide you to everything that I've talked about today. You'll find in this book. So, and it looks big, but it's 366 days. And every day you have, the information I've shared, then you have practical tips and reflection questions. 1 page a day, easy. In fact, someone said to me that after reading one, I kind of go back and I want to read it again. So get your copy from Amazon, from anywhere you buy your books, Barnes and Noble, or you can go to mindsightstore.com and get your copy from there. So don't forget, get your copy to truly, truly change your life. There's a whole section on letting go of the past, section in part 7, and it's got so much of what we've talked about. And for more details, if you're a woman ready for supportive, faith-filled community that nurtures your growth, I invite you to join us in Mindsight Women's Network, where faith meets emotional intelligence and neuroscience, and women are able to rise together. So finally, I remind you that remember, your mistakes are not tombstones. They are stepping stones that God uses to lead you higher. You are limitless when you rewire your brain and align with God's truth. So I encourage you to soar higher, break limits, and take fearless actions. So let's see what's here. Dr. Chi from Deal, thank you for joining. My darling hubby, Chinedu, beautiful Ashford, I like that. And if I'm happy to review, rewire, replace my mistakes. Awesome. So does anyone have any question, comments? What really stood out for you today? Oh, Fireball Dina. Oh, it's so good to have you here. She says, Maureen, you've inspired me to launch my own LinkedIn Lives. Yes. And I love your 3 examples. Wine and cheese are perfect for parties. Absolutely. Absolutely. So good to have you here. Thank you. And I'm going to hold you accountable for that. LinkedIn Lives you are going to do. Let me know when the first one is. Put it in the chat. When are you proposing to do the first one, so I can truly hold you accountable there? So these are the steps that I talked about, the 4-step action plan for October: review, reframe, rewire, and rise. Please, please, please use this month of October. And complete this. My past mistake prepared me for filling that gap there. What did it prepare you for? What did your past mistakes prepare you for? Filling that for yourself. This is so important. Don't just listen. answer the questions, because they would really help you as you go along. So if there's no question coming through, we're going to end today. Let me just go back into the comments. So thank you once again for joining. And if you came late, please go back and you can watch the replay on LinkedIn. Sorry, on YouTube. You can watch the replay on YouTube. And remember to subscribe. And don't forget to get your book. This book is really, really changing lives. Get one for someone for Thanksgiving. Get one for someone for Christmas. Get one for someone so that they start 2026 right. And also watch out for the workbook coming very soon that accompanies it. But please get your book. This devotional or daily guide is going to truly change your life. It's got so much information in it, and it's so easy to take in. So thank you once again for coming and joining me. Fireball Dina says, I accept and appreciate your accountability challenge. Good. I would, and I look forward to joining your live. So please, I look forward to seeing you in November. Have a fantastic rest of the month. Thank you, Ifoma. My past mistakes, I'm going to project this because this really helped other people as well. My past mistakes prepared me for improving my behavior going forward. Yes, thank you so much. Please repeat my past. Okay, I'll project that again for you. Okay. My past mistakes prepared me for. So you fill in that gap. My past mistake prepared me for. So remember I said identify one past mistake, and then now what did it prepare you for? So you change the narrative. So one past mistake that probably has kept you stuck, or you've been ruminating or feeling regret over a period of time, pick that up and then now change the narrative. What did it prepare you for? So identify one and then reframe what it prepared you for. Yeah. So awesome. So let's remove that. So yes, have a fantastic rest of your month. Thank you, Elisha. I hope you got that. So have a fantastic October. Make this October count, please. Make it count. Do something that you've been delaying. Do something that you've been putting off. Do it afraid. Do it with nerves, but do it. And you make mistakes. It's okay. You learn from them. What mistakes did you make? How would you improve on them next time? What will you do differently? Mistakes should not hold you back, or they shouldn't prevent you from doing what you want to do, and they shouldn't prevent you from continuing. So I really hope this has blessed you, and I wish you a fantastic rest of your month. Thank you for joining me once again on our monthly lives. I come here every first Saturday of the month. And if you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Maureen Chiana. I should have said that at the beginning, but I just get so excited in going into talking. So my name is Maureen Chiana. I'm a master neuroplastician. So I help people understand how their brain works and how they can rewire their brains to really achieve their best. So I teach you how your brain works and enable you with coaching to implement it in the stage of life that you're at to achieve your best, so that you thrive and not survive. So I look forward to seeing you next month. And if you want to know more about what I do, please reach out to me, send me a DM, book a call. There's a link in the description in YouTube where you can book a call, a consultation call. Then let's talk about where you're at and how I can help you get to where you want to be. I look forward to seeing you next month, October. Have a very blessed month. Bye for now.